Hi, everybody. This is Sheila Harris with the show Starts and Stops. I'm so glad to have all of you join me today. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for joining. I have a couple of special guests today, but I'll get into that in a second. Once again, I just wanted to thank you for your support over the past, I would say almost a year, right? It's been about a little over a year. But thank you for tuning in. If you're listening in your podcast, please always download. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribing and sharing. It all helps. I just want you to be able to share with others what we're doing at Starts and Stops. If you ever want to drop me a line, my socials are in the caption, and you can always let me know how you like the episodes, how you like the show overall. If you have any suggestions, I'm open. Okay, so I want to go ahead and get started with today's episode. So I'm going to just explain who I have with me today. These are two very, very special guests. I've had the pleasure of knowing them for a few years. They've been clients of mine with my agency, Harris Brand Management. But in addition to that, I've really just been blown away, not only by their work, which we'll get into in a little bit, but also just their heart in giving back and creating impact in the community. And also the fact that they're creating a legacy for future generations, especially our young Black men. So, and then with August being National Black Business Month, it just made sense to have them on. It was just a natural fit. So I wanted to kind of talk to them today. As you know, Starts and Stops talks about, starting and then pausing sometimes when we're not sure of ourselves, and then, then learning to keep going. So having them on today is really going to help share and talk a little bit about that. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guests and have them talk a little today with us today. So I'd like to introduce first the Get Right Fragrance team, CEO Bruce Hardnett. Hi, Bruce. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Sheila. How you doing?
Good morning. And managing partner, Jason Crawford. Jason, how are you?
I'm great. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So the two of you, we're going to tag team a little bit with the two of you, but I wanted to first start off by having you talk to the audience about what Get Right Fragrance is. So Bruce, why don't we get started? Tell me a little bit about what the Get Right Fragrance, what the product is and what it means and just all of that.
Sure. So Get Right Fragrance is a brand that was created and established in 2020. Um, Pretty much the origin of the brand stems back from, Jason and I's love for fragrance. It was something that we enjoyed. It was an easy, I guess, easy pathway for us to embark into entrepreneurship, actually, just using a product that we use every day. So something that was right underneath our nose, it made sense to actually just use that product and incorporate it into our own brand. And that what's really pretty much started the Get Right brand. And as far as the clean team is kind of like our theme. It's our lifestyle. It's something that we want to project. We want to display and showcase as a way of confidence. How you dress, how you look, how you feel, how you eat. All these things for us, which our motto being clean is everything, is what we created and wrapped up into the brand.
Fantastic, fantastic. Jason, why don't you talk a little bit about how this started and just how you got involved as well.
Yeah, so Bruce and I we've been longtime friends. I don't remember not knowing him, so it's like
Hmm.
we always been very close, and we always had a vision of doing well and doing things positive, doing things the right way. So uh, when we came embarked on this opportunity to go into partnership and business with each other, we decided to look, hey, let's create a brand that's in tune with our lifestyle and our morals and our values. And being clean is everything is where we came up with.
Very nice, very nice. Jason, you just mentioned not knowing a time when you didn't know Bruce. I know that both of you are from the Bronx, born and raised. Talk a little bit about that. Like you're both born and raised in the Bronx. You have similar backgrounds. How did that shape your trajectory towards, going into business and entrepreneurship?
Yes. So growing up in the Bronx was a very interesting dynamic. It's it's sort of like the suburb of Manhattan, but it's also the inner city. But you know, you have your challenges, you have your obstacles, um, violence, drugs, negativity, and you have to overcome all of those challenges and just do the right thing. And it's been a great ride where we our circle of family and friends, we upheld each other in that environment. You know, we could have easily went down the wrong path and uh, you know, not been here today. There's many. It's funny, like hearing my parents say they're you know, there's people that they grew up with that's no longer here, and as now we're older, now we see you know, there's many people that's just not here today because of certain violence, drugs, what have you. So it was a unique experience and a great experience. I think it molded us to be the men that we are today.
Excellent, excellent. Bruce, how about you? How do you think it shaped your trajectory?
Yeah, growing up in the Bronx, I think it was you know, you kind of have like this stigma on this cap on, you know, us growing up in the projects. You know, we didn't really have options. You know, where we was told that we didn't have many, you know, outlets to get out of our circumstances. So, you know, I think growing up in the Bronx and just having that mindset and like-minded people pushing each other for something greater and positive is where, you know, we was able to actually get out of those conditions and get out, you know, move our families out as we got older out of those situations. Not that the Bronx is bad, but you know,
Right.
it's just our ground roots. And you know, and I think what's important too, as you know, we got older, is being able to be in a position to give back to our communities and have that legacy, like you know, mentioned that, you know, the younger generation could say, hey, you know, these guys grew up in the Bronx as well. You know, we can, you know, be a role model to them.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I think we have similar trajectories. I was born and raised in Harlem and lived in Harlem up until about maybe 3 years ago. And similar, where you know
Hmm.
you're in an environment, and sometimes an environment, there's a lot of great things, but then there's some things that are negative. But I think we all had a similar parentage where it's like, you know, whatever's on the outside doesn't necessarily have to get on the inside.
Indeed.
And you just make goals. You know, you build these goals and have faith in God and just try to move forward. I will say, sometimes our environment doesn't always lend to, you know, examples in terms of things that are a little different and off the beaten path.
Hmm.
You know, I think in my generation, I always tease y'all that I'm a little older than the two of you, but you know, before you're seeing teachers and doctors and lawyers and firemen, which are all great, but not when I was growing up, I didn't know what a publicist was. You know, I didn't
Hmm.
really. There was entrepreneurship from this fact that my dad, you know, and his friends, you know, they had started a store in Harlem, so I knew a little bit about our entrepreneurship. But in terms of going into that, do you feel like some of the kids that you have run into, you know, are they like really impressed, or are they like, wow, what's that? Like, what's an entrepreneur? Like, do you feel like you've run into those moments? I know, Jason, you've spoken to youth in the past as well.
Yeah, so last year I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to speak with the West Prep Academy
Hmm.
on the west side of Manhattan. It was a junior high school, middle school. My cousin Tracy Ruffin connected me with the principal. It was like an entrepreneur career day. I had an opportunity to do a little small slideshow, show them the creative side of entrepreneurship. Um, I came in well dressed so they can see someone that looks like them, uh, that can articulate and communicate in an effective manner, uh, to describe uh, entrepreneurship, the business, lifestyle, just overall doing positive things. Also, Clean Team, Get Right Fragrance sponsored a youth baseball team in New Jersey. So we that is our main focus, is to uplift, lend a helping hand to those behind us, and just to be a great example to the youth.
Excellent. No, I kudos to the two of you. I think that's excellent. You know, you're keeping in mind the business, but also just impact it has on community. So I think that's fantastic. So let's move on a little bit. So you started the fragrance line, Get Right, in addition to Clean Team. Let's talk a little bit about when you started. I'm bouncing around a little bit.
Mhm.
You launched during a time that was very, very difficult for most of the planet. Talk about launching the year that you launched, and then what happened right after that, because people really need to know that. The timing of it and what that was like.
Yeah, so that was right at the peak of the pandemic. We didn't foresee, of course, what was going to happen. And we was in the process of launching our first actual commercial ad for the brand. We spent a lot of money and a lot of time, creating this video, and then all of a sudden, the world went on lockdown.
Right,
So,
right,
at this stage in the game, it's like, what do you do? Where do you place this material that you created? We didn't know how long this was going to last. So Jason and I was like, hey, the show don't stop. Let's put it out there. And I think it actually worked to our benefit, because it was a time that everyone had no other option but to focus on, being home, and was on social media pretty much
right,
all day and night. So it was a great segue for us to actually launch during that time, to get more, more engagement, more eyes on us. So blessing in disguise, to be honest.
right.
And it was a time we had the most sales during the pandemic, and being at having a fragrance where no one's really utilizing that product because everyone is home. But I think us having a video out, and people taking a look, and wanted to support at that time, really helped us.
Yeah. I'm going to get to you in a second, Jason, but I love what you said, Bruce. You were facing a global
Hmm.
catastrophe, and you're like, well, the show doesn't stop.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I've talked about on this program is the fact that I know I've struggled a lot of times where, okay, conditions aren't perfect. And then I'm like, well, if I go out the gate, what's going to happen? And then I just kind of pause, and it's like, it kind of stunts me from time to time. And then it's like, then there's a part of me where it's like, no, you should just go ahead and then just try to rock on with it and figure it out. And that's not easy. Can you talk about, because you would really have every right in the world to say, you know what, maybe we
Yeah.
should pause right here. This is a bit of a problem,
Yeah.
but you use it to your advantage. Talk about that mindset of still going, even in the midst of something as devastating as a pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, you don't stop, and
Mhm.
that's what we're taught in life, never give up. And that's the main thing, is, being consistent and weathering out the storms in life, and that goes in your personal life and things of that nature. So, I think when you make a stop, you kind of stagnate your growth. It's just like working out. You just got to push through the pain. And after the pain is gone, you become stronger. And, that's kind of like our forte in what we do. Even times when sales are slow, it doesn't stop. It doesn't mean that we're not being productive. We just find other ways of, you know, being productive during that slow period. Maybe that might be the time to spend time with family, things, do things that are, we haven't been focused on. And then when things pick up, then, you don't feel guilty because you already put that time in what you needed to do. So, just keep going, and, not to feel guilty and put, too much pressure on yourself, and
Right,
just go with the flow.
right. No, no, I love that. Jason, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, going with the flow is very important. Like Bruce said, life throw challenges your way every day. You may wake up and it may be raining. So guess what? You gotta go get an umbrella. So
Hmm.
you don't know what
Right,
today's gonna bring. So
right,
you just gotta go with the flow. You can't be so stringent and rigid that you can't be divert from your plan. You have to divert from your plan basically. So you gotta pivot,
Yes.
uh, plan, and replace, and just figure it out, figure out ways to move forward. And that's when you have your strong support system. Uh, Bruce motivates me every day. He's one of the hardest working men that I know, in this in this business and in the business in general. So yeah, we haven't exploded with extreme successes as of yet, but we're on our way. And guess what? Sometimes those things that happen quick don't always pan out to be fruitful and
Right.
positive, and sometimes it doesn't work out in your best interest. So when you move slow and steady, sometimes that's the like the tortoise and the horse, tortoise
In the
and the hare.
hair. Very
The
true.
tortoise and the hare.
Yeah,
Slow and steady wins the race.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
No,
If I can also add, and that also ties back to the company name, Get Right. It's times where, you wake up in the morning and you don't feel like getting ready for work, and you kind of have like a bad morning, but the confidence and the strength is, all right, let me pull myself together. And it's nothing like, putting yourself together, because you still have to, present yourself to the world, and just spraying on that fragrance that's
Yeah.
gonna change your mood and get you out the door, and you're like, okay, I got right. I feel clean, I feel motivated, and don't get a compliment while you on your journey to work, and that just adds on to it. So you know it's a
right.
win-win.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
I was tickled by, I don't know if it was one of you just mentioned, during the pandemic, you would think most people are probably not thinking about wearing fragrance. I did, because I was like, even though I'm in this house, I need to smell good, so it's not a
Yes,
problem.
yes, yes.
But I say that to say, you had an audience at that time who was supporting you, but they didn't necessarily have a place to go, but they still wanted to smell good. Do you feel like your audience has shifted now? Like, just talk a little bit about your original target, and then now, who's your target now?
Yeah, we still have the same audience base from the beginning. A lot of just core base followers. We have grown over the years, of course, through word of mouth. And we're just continuing to just, expand our reach. We're actually, as far as our sister company, we could say is Clean Team Global. We're actually a global brand now. We have our global stamp in different countries: Africa, India, Trinidad, Japan. So we're definitely
Australia.
shipping. Yeah, Australia, Spain.
Nice.
So it's growing. It's definitely getting the eyes and the attention that we need. And social media has its challenges. Where it kind of lessens our visibility to the public, but as as long as we have our core base, we're fine with that.
No, excellent, excellent. And I love the way you said that you expanded an extension of the brand or internationally and everything else. So I think that is fantastic. When you say Clean Team Global, I just want to make sure the audience understands what that is and what that movement was. Can you talk a little bit more about that too?
Clean Team Global is a lifestyle brand where um, if you don't feel good, you don't look good, you don't smell good, you're not right. So our goal is to just get right in everything we do. It's a war cry for um, just positivity, entrepreneurship, um, health, fitness, fashion. Um, it's just over a brand, and the global focus is to just pass on the model that we're building
Correct.
globally. Because and guess what?
Right.
We sometimes companies, and especially in the United States, they pigeonhole themselves to their local region, and we understand that there's about 5 to 7 billion people in the world. So if we can tap into that market and expand ourselves, that'll be very fruitful for us.
Yeah,
Excellent.
especially going back to our earlier conversation, being from the Bronx,
Right.
and not having those limitations on us, to have our face and our presence seen by people who may not even speak the same language,
Right.
and that's awesome.
No, no, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. I want to go into just the overall thought about entrepreneurship, right? A lot of us, especially in our community, kudos to those who have launched businesses and everything else. But we know, those of us who are entrepreneurs know it is not easy. There are a lot of different challenges that you'll face, whether it's early on or during or as you're in it. Can you talk about the type of personality that you need in order to be an entrepreneur?
Sure, your strongest I guess strength in being a person, being an entrepreneur, is you have to have personality, you have to have people skills. And that's very important, and just also having, the mindset and the strength, because there's going to be a lot of nuances, that's going to come, that you don't foresee, and you have to be a problem solver, because your businesses, you can't stop and say, hey, I'm going to stop because this is not working, because they don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So it's masking those problems and keeping the boat rolling.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead, Jason.
I would say also, in the most simplest way I could put it, if you're looking for a quick payday, that's this entrepreneurship is not for you, because
Say it again.
yeah, often you get paid last. So
Indeed.
you have your vendors, you have whatever events you're trying to do, whatever marketing you're trying to put forward, and however you get in your finances, um, all of those people that you're trying to help, that's trying to help you to project your business in whatever capacity, they have to get paid, or unless you working out some sort of barter with them. But ultimately, what I'm trying to say is, if you get paid last, so um, often you see people, on social media or in media in general, you see the end result and you see the successes and the fruits of their labors.
That's right.
But they may have went years and years.
That's right.
Of starving, basically, without getting any money, without getting any sort of income to sustain themselves. So if you want to get paid right away, entrepreneurship is not for you.
Right.
Yeah, and if I could piggyback on that, you have to have it in your heart. You have to have the passion for what you do. This is not a, a, a it's not a road for a quick bag. Some people
Right.
get lucky, and they're fortunate, but once you do this with passion, you feel like $1 million. Just having that one person just buy your product, every sale is like $1 million sale. You're like, wow. A dollar's better than zero, no dollars.
Right.
So you feel, hey, this is the win. So
No, I think that's excellent. And again, reiterating that August is National Black Business Month. So all of these things are important. I always say to my circle, no one's, and we know this, no one's posting their struggles. They're posting their wins. And Jason, as you said, these might be wins after like 10 years, but when you see it on the gram or on TikTok, it's like, oh, wow, they started that business. I can do that too. And you don't know all of the ins and outs, even the structure of the business, the things you have to do just on the back end. That's just as important as anything that's client facing or product facing, anything else. So those are things I think people need to keep in mind. It's fine to consider it as an option or even as a life's goal, but you just have to be ready for what's coming and think about being very prayerful, and then building your team as you go along, and just going from there. So thank you for being candid with that. That's very, very important. I want to ask, as two entrepreneurs, what does success look like to you? Like in the long, short term and long term, what does success look like for you?
Success for me is I'm not looking for the huge accolades. If it comes, it comes. But I think success for me is having my children look up to me, and seeing, hey, my dad is doing something that's spontaneous. I mean, that's spectacular. Even them looking at me now and seeing me putting putting, you know, the fragrance together and shipping it out to customers. In the beginning, they wasn't interested. They was like, oh yeah, my dad say, yeah. You know, he has but now that they see the sales are coming in and they see me putting it together, that inspires them to see, you know, that, hey, this thing is really working. So for me, that is success. And hopefully at some point, you know, we can grow and be able to pass this down to our children to carry it on.
Excellent. Jason, what about you?
Success is looking myself in the mirror and knowing that I'm doing the right thing. And success is um, putting your best foot forward, being a good role model to my family, my children, my mother, you know, knowing that she can proudly tell her friends that, you know, I'm doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Success is starting something and not quitting and building on those things. Whether it's that, you know, lately I've been on my health goal, waking up at 5 a.m.
Mm.
That's sometimes is the harder part than the actual workout. So
Right.
success is
Indeed.
Yes.
yeah. So success sometimes, you know, everyone is entitled to their own opinion of success and health. You know, I've had a health scare 2 years ago. I overcame and I'm moving forward. So success can be many things, and I'm grateful to God that, you know, I have the greatest support system around my partner Bruce, my wife, my kids. That's success. You know, everything else is secondary, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, excellent. What I gather from what you both said, the word that comes to me is priorities.
Mm-hmm.
And just, you know, reinforcing that because, you know, you have to be alive in order to be an entrepreneur. So you got to take your health seriously. You have to take your mindset, your mental wellness seriously, all of it, you know, finding times to, you know, just creating balance in your life so it's not wearing you out, but you
Correct.
are achieving your goals. So all of that is, yes, very, very important. Um, I want to just a couple more questions. You know, talk about the importance of seeing Black men in business. I'm pretty sure over the years there were various role models for you, but just talk about not only what it meant for you to see that, but also for the two of you in this role, what you hope to impart to other young Black men who are seeing you and, you know, see you suited up at times. Bruce, you're wearing your actual brand logo on you and all
Indeed.
that, you know. Yeah, so talk about what that means to you, especially when you see the younger ones come up to you and have words with you on that.
Sure. I mean, Black men, you know, in this, I would say, in speaking in this fragrance space, you know, it's limited. You know, this is
Right.
not a space that's really catered towards, you know, a Black audience. So you don't really have too many Black perfumers and Black fragrance brands. And I think it speaks volumes. I think a lot of younger people, when they look at, you know, us and realize, hey, you know, there's not too many people doing doing what we're doing, you know,
Right.
as you know, selling fragrance oils, you know, back in the days, you know, 125th Street. This is a whole different ball game. You
My
know,
old block.
yeah. And it's great too, you know, that being that the space is so small, we were able to meet other Black perfumers in, you know, in different states and actually collaborate with them. And, you know, and I feel like each brand brings something unique to the industry. We have our own style. Another fragrance brand has their own thing. And, you know, once people get to see that presence, they start to realize, okay, these guys are serious. You know, they're changing the narrative, which is the
Yes.
first and foremost. You know, it's not, you know, the other gentleman on the boat with the open shirt spraying the fragrance. Now we coming through clean. We're bringing
Right.
music to the industry, which is something that's totally not on the radar of most people that's into fragrances. So we're bringing a whole different element, and I think that's is great for us as Black men to show that and display that.
Excellent. Excellent. Jason, what about you?
similar to what Bruce said, uh, there's not many people that look like Bruce and I in this industry, and we come in with a different twist. Hopefully, at some point, we can collectively build and grow together all the fragrance houses, because there's simply enough room or pie for us to get. Our portion of the pie is so small that the upside of the potential for growth is humongous. We're just getting started. So
Yeah.
hopefully, as a people, we can continue with the support. We could grow collectively, and we can be competitive, but have a partnership with our colleagues in this industry. And in general, growing up, unfortunately, I didn't see a lot of typical story, single mother household. I grew up in the Bronx, yeah, but the more successful people I growing up seeing was in my church that I grew up. Those are the men that I would see. Okay, everyone's suited, and that's where I kind of got my concept of throwing on the suit, because from a baby, I was going to church with my family and had a suit and tie on,
Right.
in a trench, in a raincoat on, picture a little boy on Easter Sunday. So that's how I dressed
Sunday's
every
best.
Sunday. So
Yes.
um, you know, uh, in life, if you don't look good, if you don't feel good, sometimes you're not going to do positive things. And I like to be a great example when I'm walking in the street, in the business world. When people see me, I try to be well manicured, haircut, shirt ironed, jacket pressed, try to
Right.
be clean. So I try to live the motto, clean team. That's what we do, and that's who we are.
Indeed.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you should both know that your labor is not in vain. People are watching and they see, and and especially I worked in media like 30 years, and I know the impact of imagery. Unfortunately, the image of our community is not always the best. And it's important. Jason, you and I have the same church background, where for us we have clear and present memories of men who are, as you say, suited and booted, but who are upstanding men who take care of their families, who take care of their church, women who are doing amazing things, putting their hand to the plow, always working, just really a lot of positive images. And for the two of you to do this and, to help to destroy the other imagery, is so critical. So I want you, both to be reinforced in knowing that. So thank
Oh
you for
man,
that.
thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
The last question, or the last question I'll say to you now is, as I said before, there are a lot of entrepreneurs in the making and there may be some who are on the fence, even as we're talking today. They're probably like, well, I don't know, what are the, I don't even know how to take the first step. And I don't want you to get into all the nitty gritty, but what advice can you give to somebody who is considering it, and maybe they feel like, I want to try, but I'm just a little scared. What if I'm a flop? And I'm gonna say this, Jason, I love how you said that there's a small piece of the pie that you're in, but there's room for everybody. So keeping that in mind, what words can you say to an entrepreneur in the making, so that by next year, National Black Business Month, they'll have something in their pocket too? So what would you say to them?
Me first?
That's fine. Yes.
Yeah. So I would say find your village. You can't.
Why is that important? Why is
We
that
can't do
important?
anything alone. You could go. How they say, you could go fast alone, but you could go further with the group. I may have messed it up, but
I know what you mean.
you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Find your
Yes.
tribe. Think of a wolf pack.
Right.
You have your alphas, you have your women out, the leaders. You have the babies coming up in a group. You have the elders, wolves. I'm trying to be simple with it, you know.
Mhm.
Yes.
So everyone has their job. So basically, in entrepreneurship, find your tribe,
Right.
do your homework, do your research, and find a mentor, someone that can hold you accountable to what you're doing. I find myself, I'm guilty of it. I find myself procrastinating on so many things, and
Right.
and like I said, Bruce, he's one of the hardest working men. I get motivated every time I think I know he's working, and I'm like, let me keep up to my partner Bruce. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But find your tribe and find a mentor that can hold you accountable. Keep yourself around positive people, um, uh, and just save your money and invest your own money. Invest in yourself. Ownership is key. Ownership is everything. And I'll let Bruce go next.
Yeah, you hit it on the nail. Entrepreneurship is about ownership, and with ownership, you have to make sure that your business affairs are in order. You have a lot of companies a lot of people that want to be entrepreneurs, but they're not doing it the right way. They're not forming an LLC. They're not, trademarking their brand, their name, their logos. These are the mechanics that are going to make you a successful business. Because, if your business actually is in high demand and you don't have that established, then someone can actually take your business from you. So you
Right.
actually can
Right.
lose it. So, to making sure that you have the ground foundation set and those principles all in line, and, being able to understand the nuances that's going to come. You have to understand that this is a business where you're paying taxes, so you have to
Right.
keep that in mind, that you're paying your personal taxes, and you got business taxes, and you have
Right.
business bank accounts, so you have to get into that mindset of, this is, I'm running an entity, and but that entity, comes with a great deal of responsibility. So
Mhm.
that's something I would say anyone who's on the fence, to take that serious, because if not, you could come into some hiccups where you may have to pay Uncle Sam.
And he wants his money.
He wants his money. And
Yeah,
I say
you're
that
gonna get money.
Yeah.
from our experience. We were selling online and not realizing that, in different states you have to pay taxes.
Right.
And we went, I think, not get too personal, but there was about 2 years we didn't pay taxes to certain states. Good thing
Right.
we didn't, oversee those nexuses of the requirements,
Mhm.
but things you have to be
No,
mindful
right.
of. And if you don't have a mentor that's going to teach you these things, these are something that you're going to come across and learn from experience.
And I'm glad you said that, because again, starting and stopping, something like that could probably, stop a person or freak them out, to be honest, and say, well, I don't want to do this again if I'm going to get in this trouble. But the tenacity that the two of you have is just like really unmatched here, because you're
Thank you.
pushing through regardless of what is coming before you. You have a goal. You want to see your brand succeed. So really kudos to the two of you on that. Really kudos.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you both for joining me today on Starts and Stops. You guys have been a joy. I always say I'm proud of the work that you do, and I know great things are coming. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, and thank you
thank
for
you.
looking so clean and fresh.
I
And
try. I
please,
try. Thank you.
and please find us on
Yes,
getrightfragrance.com.
please talk about your socials, all of that, please.
Find us on Facebook, Get Right Fragrance. Find us on TikTok, Get Right Fragrance. Find us on Instagram, Get Right
Yes.
Fragrance.
Yes.
And getrightfragrance.com. Come shop with us. We're a small business. If you want to say we're a small Black business, I accept that as well.
Yes.
We're hardworking men trying to do positive things in this world. Sheila, you've been a great asset and great partner to the brand, and we greatly appreciate you, and we thank you so much for the consistency with us.
Thank you. No, it's been a joy. It really has been. Really has been.
Awesome. One last thing.
Yes.
Also, we have 2 singles out on all platforms, Apple, Spotify. You could download our music, Being Clean Is Everything. And then we have another hit single, Something So Right. 2 amazing artists that, put the pen to the paper and kind of wrote the backdrop of our brand.
And that's part of
That's
your, yeah, I
that's a
want to talk
free
about that. Yes.
that's a free download. If you have
Free download.
if you have whatever streaming service you listen to your music on, Get Right, Being Clean Is Everything, and Get Right Fragrance has free music as a free download. Please support.
Wow. And
Yes.
so there, you guys are also in content creation, basically music, all of it. You're doing it all, jingles. I love it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. So you heard them. Make sure you're downloading, make sure you're following them, and make sure you're supporting the great work of the Get Right Fragrance team. Thank you all so much. Bruce, Jason, thank you for joining me. And everyone who tuned in and listened in to Starts and Stops, thank you so much. Until next time, be blessed. Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you.